Hey guys, welcome back to another video tutorial from Aditya Biologics. So guys, today we have very interesting topic to discuss on. Let's see what is it. Okay, the topic is apoptosis. Guys, this topic is very interesting topic, yeah. So guys, we all know that in our body there are two systems of cell, yeah, living system and a death system, yeah, and there must be a balance between living system and death system for the proper functioning of the body, yeah, in order to maintain the homeostasis of the body, yeah. We all know very well about it. Okay, so guys, we all know about the cell division, correct? Cell cycle, cell division, the overall concept on cell cycle and cell division, yeah. Why it takes place for the proper growth and development of the body, yeah, all we know about this. But guys, do we know that sometimes the cell intentionally commits suicide? Yeah, obviously it's a very tough and harsh job to commit suicide, yeah, but cell does. Day to day the cell commits suicide, yeah. And which cell commits suicides and why cell commits suicide and intentionally, yeah, these things we have to understand in this topic, and how cell decides to go for a death, yeah, these all overall concept we need to understand, and we will know about this all things, the all concepts in this video. So stay tuned with the video, okay guys. Okay, so here apoptosis is simply the intentional cell suicide, yeah, in which the cell intentionally decides to go for a death. Okay, means it is simply a programmed cell death. It is nothing like the chemical, any sorts of chemical is given to the body externally and then the cell dies. Then we will not call that process of apoptosis, yeah. It should be a natural process. Okay guys. Okay, now let's see about the furthermore concepts. Okay, now let's see about the apoptosis. What is apoptosis? Yeah, apoptosis is a pathway of cell death that is induced by a tightly regulated suicide program in which cells destined to die, okay, activate enzymes that degrade the cell's own nuclear and cytoplasm protein. Okay, guys, the same thing we have discussed. Okay. Okay, now let's see about the apoptosis. Let's know the science, why it happens. Okay, so guys, let me take an example first. Okay, suppose guys, this is a cell. Okay, this is the cell, and suppose any pathogen, any, let's take an example, any pathogen attacks the cell. Okay, let's take an example of virus. Okay, if any pathogen or virus attacks a cell and infect the cell, then the cell, when it gets infected, then the cell has to do two things, whether to deactivate the virus or to kill itself, yeah, for the betterment of the neighboring cell and as the whole body, isn't it guys? Okay, so for that the cell has to die. Actually what happens is the virus attacks the cell, it controls the overall machinery of the cell, yeah, hijacks the machinery of the cell and start replicating and infecting the cell, yeah. If it does not die, the infection will be spread throughout the neighboring cells, yeah, and thus it can create a lots of dysfunctionalities in the body. So for that the cell undergoes a death. Okay, and suppose if there is a uncontrolled cell division, yeah, uncontrolled cell division due to any factors in the body, yeah, which can lead to the formation of tumors, yeah, and ultimately which can cause cancerous, yeah, ultimately which can cause cancer. So for in these cases the cell needs to die itself, yeah, the cell dies for the betterment of other cell as a whole body, isn't it guys? So this is the basic idea, the basic concept for cell death, why we need cell death, yeah. Okay, we will discuss the overall concept in detail as well. Okay. Okay, so what makes a cell want to die? Withdrawal of positive signals, example growth factors, important cytokinins, interleukin 2, IL-2. Positive signals means if there is no positive signal means uh, the signals which says cells to not to die, go for a cell growth. Yeah, and if there is lack of such positive signals, then the cell starts dying. Yeah. Okay. Receipt of negative signals, for an example, increased levels of oxidants within the cell. Okay. Damage to DNA by free radicals or reactive oxygen species. Yeah. And death activators like tumor necrosis factor alpha, very important factor it is, guys. Lymphotoxin, TNF beta, and fast ligand. Okay. Now let's see furthermore. Now let's see about the importance of apoptosis. Guys, there is huge importance of apoptosis, yeah, in human body as well as any of the organism. Okay. Now let's see. Crucial for embryonic development. Yeah, errors in apoptosis can lead to birth defects. Guys, in embryonic development, what happens is during the period of embryonic development, there are lots of things going on inside the body, but what happens here is during the embryonic development there are number of organs, tissues joined together. Yeah, and during the course of development the organ needs to be separated. Okay, and for the separation means the cell needs to be disintegrated. Yeah, and so that the proper alignment of organ can be formed. Okay, let me take an example. Let's take an example of fingers, guys. Fingers. Okay, let me draw finger. Okay, it's not a nice hand. Okay. Okay, guys. So during embryonic development, what happens is our 1 minute. Okay, our fingers are joined. Yeah, like this by a cell. They are not free. Yeah, our fingers are joined like a duck. Yeah. So here during the course of embryonic development, here the cell needs to disintegrate. Means this cell means these cells needs to be disintegrated. Yeah, so that the proper finger will form. Yeah, the proper alignment of fingers for proper growth like a normal human will form. Yeah, that's the job of apoptosis. Yeah, guys, there are lots more function of apoptosis actually. Okay. Now let's see another one. Important for maintaining homeostasis of the body. Yeah, guys. Homeostasis means internal balance of the body. Yeah, internal environment, balancing of internal environment of the body means living system and death system. As we have already discussed. Yeah, cell death is balanced with mitosis to regulate cell number. Yeah, the number of cell, as the number of cell dies there needs to be cell to divide. Yeah, to compensate means to regulate the homeostasis simply. Yeah, general idea. Okay, apoptosis helps eliminate cells that are injured. Yeah, very important here. Such injured cells include cells with damaged DNA, yes, cells with misfolded proteins, or cells suffering from certain infections, yeah, by viruses, by any pathogens, like that concept. Yeah, so here we need apoptosis process. Very important process it is, guys. Okay, now let's move on. Okay, here you can see the apoptosis importance. Eliminating cells with misfolded proteins means non-functional proteins. Yeah, means harmful proteins. Yeah, that we need to eradicate, that we need to eliminate actually by the process of apoptosis. Yeah, guys, by disintegration of cells. Okay. Okay, guys, so here you can see it helps in the maintenance of homeostasis. Means cell growth and programmed cell death are should be balanced inside the body. Yeah, cell growth is a living system of the cell. Programmed cell death is a death system of the cell. Yeah, guys, both needs to be in balance for the proper functioning of the body and growth and development of the body. Okay, guys, now let's move on and see. Okay, guys, here this is a very important concept again here, guys. Yeah, from the living system here actually. So let's talk of when the apoptosis need when we need the apoptosis process, yeah, when it takes place inside the body, yeah, that concept we will need to understand here. Okay guys, so actually what happens is, during the cell cycle process, yeah, this is the checkpoints. This is the actually the process of cell cycle, yeah. And okay, and this is the sequence of the cell cycle, yeah. G1S, G2M. Okay, so here what happens is, in S phase the DNA synthesis takes place, DNA replication takes place actually. Okay, before that, here in this point, here in this point, before going for the DNA synthesis, DNA replication, here the preparation is done. It is the preparatory phase for DNA synthesis. Here the preparation of DNA, the proteins, the enzymes takes place in the G1 phase. Okay, okay. And if there is any sorts of damage, any sort of abnormality in the DNA, then it gets detected by a very important protein called P53 protein, guys. P53 protein. This is the protein which decides a cell will go for a cell cycle or not. The cell will go for a cell death or not. Yeah, it is a very important protein, P53 protein. Okay, guys. Okay. Now let's suppose if there is any sorts of damage in the DNA, yeah, before going to S phase of the DNA synthesis replication, then it halts the process thereby. It halts the process at a point, yeah. It halts the process, it stops the process, and tells or sends the signals to the cell that if possible repair the DNA, or if not, then yeah, and if not, then apoptosis process will begin, and the DNA, the cell will die. Okay, this is the protein, very important guys, very important protein. It is P53 protein, yeah. Actually it what does is, after receiving the signal for the apoptosis, it further activates the enzymes, caspase enzymes, yeah. And further pathway of apoptosis takes place, and the cell finally dies, yeah. This is the common idea, the common concept. Okay guys, okay, now let's move on. Now let's see the characteristics. It is a process that occurs in almost all living creatures since their early stages of embryological development. Yeah guys, the example of finger, yeah, human finger in embryological condition, duck-like finger, yeah, cell disintegration takes place like that. Yeah, very good. It is an active cytological process in which energy is consumed. Means it is ATP independent. Of course, it needs a cell for the activation of lots of proteins and enzyme, and finally the cell to die. Yeah, of course. It is a programmed or controlled by genetic protocol or program control of enzymes, cell membrane surface proteins, cytoplasmic molecules, signal transduction, gene expression. Yeah, and it may be triggered by intrinsic and extrinsic stimuli. Intrinsic means the stimulus received from within the cell, yeah, and extrinsic means the stimulus are received from outside of somewhere of the other cells, yeah. This is the idea. Okay, now let's see the morphology of apoptosis. The following morphological features are seen in cells undergoing apoptosis. What are they? Let's see. Shrinkage of cell volume and shape, chromatin condensation and DNA fragmentation, most characteristic feature of apoptosis, yeah. Formation of surface blebs. Blebs are like bubble-like structure, guys. Bulges are forms, yeah, bubble-like structures. Okay. Fragmentation into apoptotic bodies, yeah. And finally, the phagocytosis takes place. The phagocytosis of apoptotic bodies by macrophages, phagocytic bodies, macrophages. Okay, guys. Yeah, here you can see this is the normal cell, yeah. Then the chromatin condensation, DNA fragmentation takes place, and finally it starts forming a blebs. These are the blebs, guys. Yeah, this bubble-like structure, the outgrowth budding like, yeah, bulges, and then finally the cell disintegrates, and these debris are further uh, destroyed by the phagocytic cells, yeah, by the process of endocytosis. Okay, guys, means it engulfs these debris, the waste remains of the dead cell. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, here you can see the normal process here. Normal cell, the cell shrinks, chromatin condenses, and then after to that membrane starts bleeding, organelles disintegrates. Here you can see the bulges are formed. Then after to that nucleus and organelles collapse, membrane continues to bleed. Yeah, apoptotic bodies are formed, and these are further engulfed by the macrophages. Yeah, and here no inflammation takes place. Yeah. Okay, the same process is here. Yeah, guys, we need to understand two concepts here. Here the cell dies by a two process, the very major process, important process, and they are the apoptosis process and the necrosis process. Yeah, and apoptosis is a programmed cell death, and necrosis is not programmed cell death. Yeah, in apoptosis this is the natural cell death, and necrosis is not natural cell death. In necrosis the cell dies due to external injuries. Yeah, external injuries. And in apoptosis no inflammation takes place, but in necrosis inflammation takes place. Okay, guys, so these were the major differences between both of the process. Now let's see what it is. Viable cell, here you can see the apoptosis, cell shrinkage, chromatin condensation, budding, and finally engulfed by the phagocytosed cells, and here no inflammation takes place. But in necrosis what happens is the cell swells up. Here you can see the cell was shrinking, but here the cell swells up, cell becomes leaky and bleeding. Yeah, leaky and bleeding, you can see here bubble like structures are being formed here. And then cellular and nuclear lysis causes inflammation. Yeah, means no further endocytosis takes place, no further engulfment of cell takes place here. These were the basic differences between the apoptosis and necrosis, and both processes are equally important, guys, very important, guys. Yeah. Okay, now let's talk about the pathways of apoptosis. Guys, in this video we have only discussed about the concept, the basic concept, the overall idea, what is apoptosis, why it takes place, how it takes place. Yeah, we have discussed the overall concept, the ideas here. And in another video, in another series of video, we'll be talking about these both intrinsic pathway and extrinsic pathway independently. Yeah, we'll talk separately about these two topics, very important topic there, guys. Yeah, actually the pathway of apoptosis means the apoptosis takes place by two pathways, and they are intrinsic pathway, aka mitochondrial pathway, and the extrinsic pathway, also called the death domain pathway. Okay, guys, they are very important pathways. Yeah, extrinsic and intrinsic. Guys, extrinsic pathway is simply the apoptosis process in which the signal for apoptosis is received by the cell from somewhere else. Yeah, from neighboring cells, from external environment. Yeah, but in intrinsic pathway the signals are received from within the cells. Yeah, the genotypes, the genes within the cell sends a signal to the cell that the cell needs to go for apoptosis process. Yeah, and they are a long process. Yeah, here you can see. Yeah, this here the ligand will bind. Yeah, and further death receptors will get activated. The procaspase 8 and procaspase 10 will get activated here. These are the inactive forms and will get activated here, caspase 8 and 10, and then it will further form caspase 3 and caspase 7. Actually not form, it will activate caspase 3 and caspase 7, and which will ultimately go for a process of apoptosis. Yeah, but in intrinsic pathway it takes place due to some reasons, guys. Yeah, very crucial reasons inside the cell, and they are like intrinsic lethal stimuli, DNA damage, if there is a ER stress, hypoxia means oxygen deprivation. Yeah, lack of oxygen inside the cell, and metabolic stress. These are the idea. And furthermore more detailed process we'll discuss. Here you can see Mitochondria are involved in the intrinsic pathway. Yeah, cytochromes are released. Apoptosomes, a complex is formed which will activate the caspase 9, and this caspase 9 will activate the caspase 3 and 7, and finally leads the cell for the apoptosis process. Yeah, guys, we'll talk a bit more in detail in next video. Okay, guys, independently on extrinsic and intrinsic pathway. So guys, this was all about the apoptosis process. Yeah, I hope the overall concept on apoptosis process is being clear to you now. Yeah, and if you have any queries about the apoptosis process, you can comment on the comment section. Yeah, guys, so this was all about. Go through the video once again, and if you like the video, please hit the like button, and yeah, please do like, share, and subscribe the channel. Okay, guys, so this was all about for today. Bye bye, guys, take care.